Hi, and welcome back to Katie's Corner in Space, and this week's installment of Star Trek Lower Decks Standout Scenes for Crisis Point 2 Paradoxus. And in a string of fun and entertaining episodes, this one was no different, with the exception of having two scenes I sincerely couldn't decide between when I had my first run-through. But while both were a twist, one certainly captures a fan's imagination and causes one to wonder about the implications. But I'm once again getting ahead of myself, so let's start at the beginning. This week, Boimler had created a sequel to Mariner's revenge flick, making himself the hero, of course, and invites his friends to play along in the adventure. However, after being interrupted and given bad news, Boimler's entire attitude changes and Mariner argues and antagonizes him the entire time. And then about him going his own way after handing over command to Tendy's character. And Boimler begins a quest to find the meaning of life in a holodeck program. Mariner, after being informed by Ransom of Boimler's bad news, decides to back him up, and the computer generates an adventure to match Boimler's expectations. Meanwhile, the acting captain, aka Tendy, is taking her adventure seriously and loving every minute of it. That is, until she notes Rutherford's less than committed attitude, and in a small outburst, she admits she wants to be a captain someday. Back with Boimler, just as he seems to be getting the answers he's been hoping for, it turns out the computer couldn't quite keep up with the story's needs, or just basic story flow, when it comes to the details. But Brad just plain can't keep up and passes out. In his unconscious state, he meets Sulu, and while not getting any sort of answers to the meaning of life, he's comforted by Dream Sulu's words. And while he wakes to his friends, on another ship, his clone wakes and is given his badge, signifying he's now a member of Section 31. Cue maniacal laugh. Now here is where I run into problems, because with an episode like this, there are some amazing action scenes. The opening with the battling Cerritos and the Romulans, the chase scene on the Grav cycle was another good one, from them speeding off to Tendy's acrobatics. Go Pirates! And if I'm being honest, even Kitya popping up out of the ground and Boimler ripping them apart to get to his answers, it was all fantastically done. I dug them all because this show really brings some great animation to the table. Mixing styles, choosing fantastic colors. I'm never not impressed at the talent needed behind these scenes to bring this kind of artistry. Even in the simple moments, like Mariner being told of William's death. It's an upsetting scene, not just because of the news, but because Mariner has to take a moment and check herself. Her attitude about Boimler's version of Crisis Point has been rough. And as soon as she's back, she does her best to join him on his quest, after a little stint in the big house, that is. Watching Tendy take up the reins and play captain was very cool, and I always love when the show tosses in a little Federation history for us to glean, and revisiting known historical Trek moments as well was a treat. Shout out to my fellow Enterprise fans. Following the map of Kitya, yeah, I know I'm not the only one who, like Boimler, was excited to see Kirk. Fully expected it as the clues mounted, and also, like Boimler, I was a little bit happier to see Sulu. 'Cause who doesn't love George, am I right? And when it comes to episode twists and our Lower Decks theme of callbacks or crossovers for the season, any chance we get to have some of the remaining players from the original series is just an incredible treat for us old fans. And so I was sure, positive really, that this would have to be the top scene for the episode. I mean, who could top Sulu? But, of course, I spoke too soon. Next thing we see is the supposedly dead William waking up and being handed his very own black badge. And he accepts it in a way only someone named Boimler could, by pointing out the obvious flaw in a covert group having a very noticeable difference in the uniform. Namely, that badge. However, when I think, even in this scene, the most memorable thing is that ridiculous, maniacal, evil laugh he's got going on here. I mean, yeah, Section 31 is dodgy as heck, but that seems a bit worrisome. Yeah? Either way, Boimler's clone waking up by far was the best twist, and so it gets the spot for top standout scene this week. As for the honorable mention, Yeah, I'm going a different way this week because the dopey computer, with all of its stored information, contrived a line of clues that ended with a freaking airplane in space. And not like the truck in space on Voyager, that story's details connected. It was so utterly contrived for this airplane. Well, let's just say it doesn't surprise me that the moment Brad passed out, that's about the time my brain would want to shut down a few systems as well. So it's not an honorable mention, it's more of a horrible mention. And yes, I know that was the point, but it was just so bad. Now, of course, the question is, will we see Clone Boimler again? Is Section 31 up to something that the Cerritos will have to deal with? And with only 2 episodes left this season, when will we get the answers? While we ponder these and other queries, take a look at some other clips from this season, and I'll see you there.